Hello, many thanks. As on News Hour, my name is Sani Abdurrahman. In this package, we'll be telling you the very latest from Glasgow, where President Akufo-Addo has been speaking with the world leaders about the effort to mitigate climate change. Also, in the bulletin, we'll be telling you something very controversial, because today the ban on the Aboboya not to be on the motorway took effect, and our reporter has been on the ground to check whether motorists are adhering to the directive by the Greater Accra Regional Minister. But let's start with the story from Glasgow, because President Akufo-Addo says Ghana acknowledges the importance and effect of climate change and the urgent need to combat it, but points out that a balance must be struck and maintained between social, economic and environmental imperatives. President Akufo-Addo was addressing delegates at the UN Climate Change Conference, COP26, which is underway in Glasgow, Scotland. Now, the last post sounded, and the bugle called in posthumous honor for 11 police officers who lost their lives in the line of duty in 2021. 8 officers out of the 11 had their names engraved on the wall of honor, while the remaining 3 had their names in the roll of honor at a ceremony at the Tesano Police Training School in Accra.
Number 56075, General Constable Francis Uboy. Fare thee well.
Ghana observes the Police Memorial Day in tribute to police officers who have been killed, died or disabled in the line of duty, and so honoring their memory gives meaning to the popular saying, "A nation that does not honor its heroes is not worth dying for." Remembering these officers who are no longer with us demonstrates to their relatives, friends and colleagues of fallen officers that their sacrifice is not forgotten. The Vice President, Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia, lit a perpetual flame at the police training school at Tesano, signifying that their service to the nation and the sacrifice of their lives will forever be remembered. Since 2016 till date, 53 officers have lost their lives in the line of duty. 8 officers lost their lives in 2016, 10 in 2017, 13 in 2017, 8 in 2019, while 14 died in 2020. In 2021, 11 police officers have died in the line of duty. The ceremony was marked with religious prayers, hymns from the police band, reveille and flag raising, the sounding of the last post, and a bugle call indicating that the police officers are in their final resting place. In his homily, the Deputy Commissioner of Police, Reverend George Arthur, made a passionate appeal to all to minimize the killing of officers in the line of duty.
Our departed relatives and friends died not as criminals, but as gallant officers who perished while performing the official duties to the nation. Their names have been engraved on the walls of this cenotaph. Contemporary and future generations will forever extol their bravery and sacrifice for our motherland, Ghana.
The Vice President, Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia, laid the first wreath on behalf of the government and the people of Ghana. The Inspector General of Police, Dr. George Ekufo Dampare, laid the second wreath on behalf of the Ghana Police Service Administration. The third wreath was laid on behalf of the bereaved families. The Ghana Traditional Council laid the last wreath on behalf of traditional leaders.
Now, the Attorney General and Minister for Justice, Mr. Godfred Yawadami, has said Parliament does not have the power using parliamentary resolutions to control the process of admission into the Ghana School of Law. He said the mode of exercising legislative power enshrined in Article 106 of the Constitution does not admit of resolutions. Parliament passed a resolution directing the General Legal Council to admit all the students who passed in accordance with the advertised rules of the examinations. Now, this has generated a lot of controversies, and we want to understand more because the Attorney General wrote to the Speaker of Parliament yesterday indicating his position on the matter. Now, joining us for more on this issue is Dr. Vincent Ajanli Mensah, a lecturer at the University of Education, Winneba. Doc, glad you could join us this afternoon. First of all, what do you make of the decision by Parliament to direct the Legal Council to admit the 499 students in the first place?
Thank you for having me. I think the first thing that has to be said is that Parliament is a representative of the people and will always try to act in the interest of the generality of the people. So you can take that as the motivation behind what Parliament is doing, trying to sanitize the system, trying to represent the interests of the people, the constituents that they serve in Parliament. So I can understand that that is the angle Parliament is coming from. So when all of us in the society have concerns, at least that is where we have interest, articulation, and aggression. So they will represent our common interest. That is what I will make of what they have done.
But look, is it permissible for Parliament to issue such a directive?
First, let me say that I am not a lawyer, so I don't know the position of the law on this. But I can say that if Parliament is the group that makes laws that govern this country, then they have the power to make any law unless that law is inconsistent with the provisions of the Constitution, as we know. If the law that they are making is not consistent with the provisions of the Constitution, then so be it. Now, if it becomes a resolution, the effect of a resolution is what has to be discussed. If what the Attorney General is asking for is for Parliament to make a law, I believe that the Speaker of Parliament is a lawyer, and there are many lawyers in Parliament. They know what Parliament has the power to do and what it doesn't have the power to do. The complexity we have in Ghana is that laws made by Parliament and which are have to be attended to by the President can be challenged at the Supreme Court. Supreme Court is controlled by the Chief Justice, who is also the head of the General Legal Council, and the Attorney General, and the Minister of Justice, who is the lawyer for government, has also weighed into the matter. So you see that you can argue that there will seem to be some conflict of interest in the whole discussion. But that is the complexity that you have sometimes. But I think that in the interest of the people, to serve the general Ghanaian interest, Parliament is the best placed institution to resolve matters like that. And this is not the first time Parliament is doing that. You remember that when it came to increasing fees in the universities, for example, Parliament passed a resolution some time ago that any fee that will be approved in the universities have also to be sanctioned by Parliament. So there is some precedent to it. But as I said, I'm not a lawyer, and I cannot interpret the law. The interpretation of the Constitution is a matter for the Supreme Court. I should think that as ordinary citizens, the institution that serves our interest, where we have our representatives, is Parliament. And when Parliament senses that there's something that has a problem, then but we also have to know the law that governs various institutions and how those laws should be respected. But as I said, there are experienced lawyers in Parliament, Doc, and they know what they are doing.
Doc, even moving away from the legal point of view, there have been recommendations that the General Legal Council should be offering accreditation to some of the schools like GIMPA, UPSA, that are already offering the legal studies to kind of organize that sort of examination so that that pressure on Makola can be taken off. Is that a position you subscribe with?
I will support that position because what is happening from the General Legal Council these days is so disturbing. You see, if this is where lawyers are going to be trained, if that is the process that begins the production of lawyers that we have, who are the foundations of the legal system, and we will have this kind of scandals and allegations around it, then you begin to wonder what happens in our legal regime and in our legal system as a whole. So it will be useful if we can get other independent bodies or institutions that are credible to conduct such exams to do so. And I think that that will be one way of addressing the problem. Otherwise, the legal system, the credibility of the legal system is being questioned.
Thank you so much for your time this afternoon. Dr. Vincent Ejali-Mensah is a lecturer and also a social and security analyst, and has been helping us to appreciate the many controversies surrounding the admission of students into the Ghana School of Law. Now let's head to Tema, where the ban of tricycles, popularly referred to as Aboboya, on the Tema motorway came into effect on 1st of November 2021. GBC News monitored the situation on the motorway and observed that operators of the Aboboya are still using the stretch. Now, the Greater Accra Regional Minister mentioned that in a move to effectively implement the directive, police officers will be deployed to both ends of the motorway from 2nd November to enforce the directive and also ensure that no Aboboya use the motorway. Our Tema regional correspondent Michael Duwenu has been driving on the motorway and joins us with live details as to whether motorists are complying with the directive. Michael, if you can hear me, what have you gathered so far?
It is day 2 since the Greater Accra Regional Minister gave the directive to ban Aboboya on the Tema motorway. But taking a road trip on the motorway, we've just chanced on this Aboboya part here. We want to find out from him how he managed to pay toll, if he actually did cross the motorway, and we found him right here in the middle of the motorway. And so we want to find out from him how he managed to get here and how he was able to beat the security, if there was any, because we heard from the Greater Accra Regional Minister that from today, the 2nd of November, the security will be at both ends of the motorway to prevent and enforce this directive. And so we have this young man who is the driver of the Aboboya to talk to us. Good afternoon to you and welcome to GBC News.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, so how did you cross the motorway? We are told that there's a directive not to use the motorway. How did you cross the motorway? You didn't find police officers on the motorway?
Yeah, unfortunate on our part, some of us couldn't get an information like that, and as we are on our way, we didn't see any security personnel on this motorway too. Yeah.
Okay, so, but it has been on the airwaves for some time now. You mean you still have not heard that the Aboboya have been banned on the motorway?
Yeah, until today, as I'm on my way, and I got to hear that this is what is happening, and I can't do anything about that than to proceed, because there is no any U-turn for me to do here. Yeah.
Okay. Greater Accra Regional Minister, what would you say to him? You want him to look at the directive again?
Yeah, I'll be very happy to even meet and to have a chance to speak, to ask a question about the banning and what's the essence for banning the Aboboya in particular on this Tema motorway.
Can you tell me, in terms of business, how much do you make a day, or in a way, how much do you make?
We don't work on a daily, but we work monthly.
Oh, okay. So how much do you make in a month?
Yeah, I make a month about 600 to 700 cedis.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And that's what you used to?
Yeah, that's what I manage for my family and myself.
And so it's going to affect you so much?
Yeah, really to affect me very much. Yeah, to affect me. And I'll be happy for my colleagues to be banned here. They will feel very bad, and there is no any place for us to go and dump again, exception of Sumia and Kpong Kataman. So that's the only easiest way we can get to dump our refuse.
Okay, so what are you going to do now with this particular? You are going to Kpong landfill site. What are you going to do? Are you going to?
Yeah, unless I proceed, because there is no any U-turn for me to take here, and for me taking back to in Sumia, it's a long distance. Yeah, it's a very long distance. Yeah.
Sure. So there's no U-turn, and he has no any other option than to proceed on the motorway to the Kpon landfill side. So we are currently on the Tema motorway, but we are driving all the way to the end of the motorway. We'll also be looking at the beach road and see whether the Aboboyas are also using that other alternative road for their business. So we will continue to give you an update. Reporting for GBC News, my name is Michael Dewonu.
Now, viewers are warned that some pictures in this story could be disturbing, and at least 17 people have been killed and 16 others injured in a fatal accident at Offenso Abofo in the Offenso South district of the Ashanti region. The accident, which happened around 5 a.m. on Monday, involved 33 people, including children. The Ashanti Regional Commander of the Motor Traffic and Transport Department confirmed the incident to GBC News. He said the accident involved the Sprinter bus with registration number GS 433917 heading towards the Bobo region when it collided with an articulated truck. That's Bono region. From the northern region heading towards Kumasi. The bodies of the dead have been deposited at the morgue of St. Patrick's Hospital at Offenso, where the injured are also on admission receiving emergency medical care. The Ashanti Regional Police, the Ashanti Regional Office of the National Road Safety Authority rather says it is still investigating the actual cause of the accident, and will be bringing you more on this development as reporters in the region tries to establish connection with the Regional Police Command, the MTTD Command, for more on this development. So those are the pictures of that gory accident on your screens there. Very disturbing development. Initial reports indicate the driver was sleep driving and veered off his lane, ran into the Sprinter bus, pushing it to a distance, and which led to the loss of lives, as we have been reported. And news just in also indicate that 6 passengers are reported to have burned to death when a bus traveling from Lora in the Upper West Region caught fire after being involved in an accident at a police checkpoint in Akomadan. According to the police, 22 others are receiving treatment after they sustained various degrees of injury. According to an eyewitness, the vehicle with 37 passengers on board crashed into an abandoned vehicle at the police checkpoint, and we'll be bringing you more on these stories in our subsequent bulletin. We go for a break. When we return, we're telling you more of what has been happening in the country beyond. Stay with us.
Good morning. It's a good morning, and we serve you breakfast.
Not just any breakfast.
Sizzling helping.
A la carte. And there's much more on offer on GTV breakfast.
So what's your pleasure than Votrasia at that time of the morning?
You want it served buffet style, complimentary breakfast?
On-site restaurant.
Or room service.
We've got you covered.
From Monday to Friday at 6 a.m.
With a trusted team.
So never skip breakfast.
On GTV breakfast.
Good to have you join us. Time now for the business segment, and I am Dorothy Ajmai. The Minister of State at the Ministry of Finance has laid out sweeping plans to return Ghana's economy to pre-pandemic levels in the short to medium term as the nation awaits the 2022 budget in 2 weeks' time. Mr. Charles Edubuahin said the budget will focus on improving tax performance, reducing debt stock and cost of borrowing, while accelerating digitization to lock in growth.
The economy is recovering from the storms of the COVID-19 pandemic, registering 3.1% and 3.9% growth in the first and second quarters respectively. While the economy is rebounding, some economies are concerned with the high cost of credit, rising debt levels, tax revenue underperformance, and the country's unemployment situation. Speaking at the last quarter graphic breakfast meeting, the Minister of State at the Ministry of Finance said the 2022 budget will address the key challenges stifling business growth and job creation. Mr. Charles Edubuahin said the budget will focus on bridging infrastructure gap, widening the tax net, and setting the debt levels to a declining path.
This budget is focused on expenditure rationalization and optimizing the implementation of flagship and strategic programs, widening and deepening existing revenue sources, including expanding the tax net. Due to the elevated debt levels in 2020, we saw our fiscal space continue to be eaten up by high interest expense. Given the fact that we have such high debt levels, we have to focus on revenue maximization. The digitalization drive is putting in place the foundation to be able to formalize the economy and create the basis for us to be able to generate more revenue. But it's a fundamental cornerstone or anchor of our budget into 2022, the importance of digitization and deepening and widening the revenue sources.
Mr. urged the public to get vaccinated to help restore productivity to pre-pandemic levels. The Finance Minister, Mr. Kenufuriata, is scheduled to present the 2022 budget in Parliament on November 17th.
And that's it for the business segment. We have more news coming up. Please stay.
It is a nightmare dealing with the filth in Accra. The gutters are choked with garbage. The streets are a jumble of filth. The beauty of the serene beaches is marred with human feces and plastics as many defecate in the open. Residents are up in arms when the situation gets out of hand.
Because of these litters, you can't even stand there for a minute as we speak here. If the mosquitoes even refuse to breathe on it.
Partners in sanitation suggest alternative policy interventions.
Landfilling is not the way forward. We are recommending treatment facilities.
But in all of this, have we made gains in